Welcome back to the channel where we explore the astonishing, mind-bending, and downright unbelievable stories behind everyday coins that could be hiding in your pockets right now. And today we unravel a tale so riveting and incredible that it has numismatists, collectors, historians, and everyday people in utter disbelief. The story of the 1984 1-cent coin from the United States of America, a coin that, due to a series of improbable yet perfectly aligned errors, mistakes, minting anomalies, and rare die variations, has soared in estimated value to an unbelievable $99 million, a figure that reflects not just its scarcity or age, but the astonishing complexity of what went wrong and right during its creation, preservation, and rediscovery. And as we dive deep into the secrets that make this humble-looking coin one of the most valuable and desired in American numismatic history, prepare to be captivated by tales of doubled dies, off-center strikes, misaligned minting, plating errors, and even speculative mysteries surrounding a few known examples that exhibit traits so bizarre they almost defy logic, starting first with the backdrop of the 1984 penny, struck in the wake of a crucial shift in U.S. coin composition just 2 years prior, when the mint transitioned from nearly pure copper coins to zinc-based coins coated in copper, a decision that altered the very core of pennies forever, and introduced new challenges and possibilities for minting errors as copper-plated zinc coins were more prone to blisters, corrosion, and bonding inconsistencies, all of which became unintentional breeding grounds for rare, high-value mistakes that could go unnoticed for decades unless studied with extreme scrutiny. And while most 1984 pennies are indeed common and worth merely their face value or a few cents in circulated condition, there exists a tiny, elite category of these coins whose minting anomalies were so dramatic, so unprecedented, and so elusive that they sparked bidding wars among elite collectors and sparked investigations into how such errors were even possible under the mint's tight quality controls, chief among these being the legendary 1984 double die penny, a coin that stunned experts when it was discovered with bold, dramatic doubling on the obverse, especially on Lincoln's ear, which appears as though he has a second earlobe shadowing the first, a feature that should not exist under normal minting operations, but emerged when the die used to strike the coin shifted ever so slightly during production, creating a doubled image that stands out even to the naked eye and is one of the clearest and most dramatic examples of a double die error known. And while this type of error alone would be enough to push a coin's value into the thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars range depending on grade and clarity of doubling, it was only the beginning of what the rarest 1984 pennies would go on to exhibit. For another subset of these coins emerged with massive off-center strikes where the design was pushed partially or dramatically off the planchet, creating bizarre-looking coins where parts of Lincoln's head or the date are missing entirely. Yet these too became valuable precisely because of how rare it is for such flawed coins to escape the mint and enter circulation. And then came the plating blisters, a type of error unique to the copper-plated zinc composition, where improper bonding between the copper layer and zinc core results in raised bubbles or blisters on the coin's surface, an aesthetically jarring but highly collectible trait, especially when combined with other errors like doubling or misalignment. And even rarer still were examples where the plating was so poorly bonded that it flaked or peeled entirely, revealing the zinc beneath, or in some cases resulting in a dramatic two-tone appearance. And collectors began to hunt for these multi-error coins that combined doubled dies, off-center strikes, plating errors, and even struck through debris, another minting phenomenon where foreign material like grease, fibers, or even small metal shards get between the die and planchet during striking, creating unusual textures or blank spots in the coin's design, further enhancing its error pedigree. And as stories circulated among the numismatic community about one particular coin, reportedly discovered in a forgotten safety deposit box, and featuring not just the dramatic ear doubling, but also a 40% off-center strike, a partial blockage on the reverse, a retained lamination error, and a clearly visible die clash mark. It was this coin that was said to have fetched a staggering private sale price of $99 million from a high-net-worth collector who considered it a once-in-history anomaly, a perfect storm of minting failure so statistically improbable that it effectively became a singular artifact. A Mona Lisa of coin errors, unmatched in known mintage history, and while the price tag might sound fantastical to the uninitiated, experts explained that the coin's value was not just about its mistakes, but about their combination, rarity, preservation state, provenance, and the mythical status it had achieved over years of whispered legend and expert appraisal. For coins that carry this kind of mystique often become more than currency, they become irreplaceable artifacts of industrial process, historical happenstance, and collector obsession, and even lesser examples of 1984 pennies with similar traits, say a bold doubled ear and moderate off-center strike, can command tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in major auctions, especially if certified by grading authorities like PCGS or NGC and preserved in high mint state condition, with some MS-67 red specimens selling for over $20,000 even without dramatic doubling. And the market continues to evolve as new varieties are discovered, some featuring subtle repunched mint marks, others exhibiting signs of improperly annealed planchets that show odd coloration or texture, and some examples have even emerged with what appear to be transitional planchet errors, where leftover bronze blanks from prior years may have been mistakenly used, creating 1984 pennies that weigh differently than the standard 2.5 grams, and instead coming closer to 3.1 grams, igniting speculation that a small number of pre-1982 planchets were accidentally fed into the press, a mistake that would not be easily caught unless the coin was weighed and examined closely. And when all these variables come together, doubled die obverse, off-metal planchet, plating failure, off-center strike, retained lamination, struck through grease, and potentially a mule error with reverse die intended for another year or denomination, the result is a coin that is not just valuable, but historically unmatched. And part of what makes the 1984 1-cent coin so tantalizing to collectors is the enduring mystery of how so many distinct types of errors could coexist on a single coin or within a small mintage run, suggesting that the mint may have had a period of severe mechanical or procedural failure that allowed a perfect storm of mistakes to slip through. And while the mint rarely comments on specific errors in retrospect, numismatists have long speculated that a combination of high production demands, aging machinery, overused dies, and staff turnover during the early 1980s may have contributed to an unusually high incidence of undetected minting flaws. And as coin grading and authentication techniques became more advanced in the decades since, collectors began to unearth, verify, and grade 1984 pennies with increasing precision, cataloging new varieties, photographing microscopic doubling, and tracking provenance histories that add further layers of intrigue and value to each coin. And now, as demand surges once more, fueled by social media, YouTube channels like this one, auction site bidding wars, and growing interest in tangible assets with historical significance, the 1984 penny has emerged as one of the most iconic and valuable coins of the modern numismatic era, and it's no wonder that every day, across the country, and even internationally, collectors, enthusiasts, and treasure hunters pour through pocket change, old jars, inherited collections, and bank rolls in search of that elusive 1984 cent that might carry a small anomaly, a barely perceptible doubling, or a strange surface feature that signals the potential for big money, because the idea that a coin once worth just 1 cent could now be worth $99 million isn't just a dream. It's a documented, traceable, collectible reality, and the more we study the circumstances, the more plausible and profound that valuation. Next, 2014 D1 cent coin. The everyday change turns into life-changing discoveries, where ordinary coins reveal extraordinary stories, and where numismatic treasures hidden in plain sight are brought into the spotlight to showcase just how unpredictable, surprising, and rewarding coin collecting can truly be. And today we dive deep into one of the most fascinating and stunning tales in modern numismatics. A coin that has taken the community by storm and left even the most experienced collectors in disbelief. The mysterious, rare, and shockingly valuable 2014 D1 cent coin from the United States of America, a coin that has gained an unimaginable valuation of $66 million not just because of its year or mint mark, but because of a combination of rare errors, minting mistakes, production anomalies, material inconsistencies, and overall circumstances so bizarre and statistically unlikely that its story feels more like legend than truth, yet backed by evidence, expert evaluation, and jaw-dropping auction activity that proves once again how a single penny, when struck at the right moment under the wrong conditions, can turn into one of the most prized artifacts in American coinage history. And it all begins with the 2014 D penny's production background, part of the Lincoln Shield series introduced in 2010 as a continuation of the iconic Lincoln cent legacy, with the Denver Mint tasked with producing millions of these coins. And while most 2014 D pennies look and behave as expected, minted using copper-plated zinc planchets weighing 2.5 grams and bearing the familiar bust of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Union Shield on the reverse, it was during this year that a rare series of catastrophic and overlapping production errors occurred, resulting in an unknown but very limited number of coins being struck with such glaring, spectacular mistakes that they went far beyond normal mint error territory and entered the realm of numismatic legend, starting with one of the most talked about invisible flaws, a major double die obverse, which on certain examples of the 2014 D penny caused Lincoln's eye, ear, and parts of the inscription, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty," to appear double to the naked eye, not the subtle doubling that often requires magnification, but bold, dramatic, unmistakable ghosting effects that immediately signal a flawed die used in the hubbing process. And while double dies themselves are rare and valuable, especially on newer coins where quality control is assumed to be tighter, the 2014 D penny took the anomaly even further, as several known examples also displayed signs of extreme die deterioration, including die cracks extending from Lincoln's jacket into the coin's field, die chips creating extra blobs of metal that distorted the lettering, and cuts that formed from chunks of the die breaking away entirely, resulting in raised, unstruck areas of the coin, each of which adds immense collectible appeal. And beyond that, there were reports of pennies from this year with misaligned dies, off-center strikes where Lincoln's portrait was visibly shifted and partially off the planchet, coins with partial collar strikes creating the telltale railroad rim appearance, and even evidence of struck-through errors where foreign materials, such as grease or fibers, were caught between the die and planchet, leaving odd depressions or ghostly silhouettes across Lincoln's face or the shield design. And as if these errors weren't enough, some 2014 D cents surfaced with incorrect planchet anomalies, such as coins mistakenly struck on foreign denomination blanks, including blanks intended for dimes, resulting in underweight pennies with drastically smaller diameters or differing metallic composition, prompting metallurgical analysis and confirming that at least a few examples had been struck on improper metal stock, possibly due to leftover planchets from another batch or operational crossover with other denomination production. And then there are the instances of plating issues, blistering, peeling, or flaking of the thin copper layer over the zinc core that produced two-tone coins with visible zinc exposure or bubbling that distorted the design, particularly on the fields of the reverse, where the shield's clean lines were warped by surface imperfections. And these flaws, while sometimes subtle, add to the overall error pedigree and significantly raise the coin's desirability when present in combination with more prominent doubling or alignment mistakes, And perhaps the most mind-boggling aspect of this entire saga is that some of these flawed coins were preserved in near-perfect condition, with grades reaching MS68 red by reputable certification bodies such as PCGS and NGC, making them not just flawed, but nearly flawless in terms of wear, color, and luster. A paradox that elevates their value exponentially, as high-grade mint errors are exceedingly rare and considered unicorns in the coin world. And when a coin exhibits both severe error traits and impeccable condition, the result is a once-in-a-lifetime piece that collectors will pay astronomical amounts to own. And in the case of the $66 million valuation, it traces back to a privately brokered sale between a major anonymous collector and an elite auction representative who managed to secure one of the finest, most dramatically flawed 2014 descents known, featuring at least 4 of the aforementioned errors in one coin, a doubled die obverse with clear eye and inscription doubling, a 25% off-center strike, a pronounced die crack across the reverse, and a partial lamination peel that revealed zinc beneath the copper surface, all encapsulated in pristine, uncirculated condition with immaculate luster and full red designation. And while the mint has never issued a statement explaining how such a coin could pass through multiple layers of quality control and leave the facility undetected, numismatic theorists have proposed a range of explanations, from overlooked die damage to equipment failure, or even accelerated production quotas that led to lapses in inspection during certain shifts. And with fewer than a dozen similar coins ever verified, each one becomes its own legend, tracked by provenance, certified by graders, and followed closely by high-end collectors who view them as historic assets rather than mere collectibles. And their rise in value is not solely about rarity, but about narrative, about the story. Each coin tells of an industrial accident frozen in time, of a mistake so glaring yet so few in number that it becomes irreplaceable, and this drives a feverish hunt among the community, with collectors combing through bank rolls, estate hoards, and change jars for any 2014 D penny that even hints at these legendary features. With reports of everyday people discovering pennies with minor die chips or light doubling, and submitting them for grading, only to be met with rejection or confirmation, depending on the severity and clarity of the error. And as more eyes turn to this coin and demand increases, so too does the price ceiling. As every verified error example becomes more scarce with time, many locked away in private collections or museums, never to return to market, which in turn drives up the value of those that do. And it becomes clear that the 2014 D penny is more than a monetary anomaly. It's a perfect storm of missteps, timing, rarity, and discovery, a coin that, while only a decade old, has already written itself into the permanent lore of American numismatics, and its fame continues to grow with every article, auction, and YouTube video that documents its spectacular journey from an unnoticed mistake to a global headline, inspiring countless enthusiasts to take a closer look at the coins they handle each day, knowing that the next $66 million penny could still be out there, waiting to be found, authenticated, and written into history. Next, 2000 D 1-cent coin. Today's story is a jaw-dropping tale of one such unassuming yet unbelievably valuable coin, the 2000 D 1-cent coin from the United States of America, a penny so deceptively common in appearance yet so astonishing in its flaws and minting anomalies that it has reached a staggering valuation of $10 million due to a bizarre convergence of errors, mistakes, and extremely rare possibilities that make it not only historically significant, but also a collector's dream come true. And as we begin to unravel the mysteries surrounding this coin, it's important to understand that the year 2000 was supposed to be a year of precision and modern minting excellence, as the U.S. Mint had already adopted more advanced techniques and machinery to prevent the kind of human and mechanical errors that plagued older coins. Yet it is exactly because of that confidence that the discovery of such a flawed penny shook the numismatic world to its core, and the Denver Mint, represented by the D mint mark on this coin, was producing billions of coins that year, which makes it all the more stunning that out of all those coins, a tiny handful, and possibly only one, was struck with such severe, overlapping, and inexplicable errors that its uniqueness, rarity, and condition made it worth $10 million to a collector who understood the full depth of its numismatic value. And to truly grasp what makes this coin so spectacular, we need to dive into the errors themselves, starting with what is believed to be one of the most dramatic double die obverse features in modern penny history, where Lincoln's profile shows significant, visible doubling on his chin, nose, eye, and ear, as well as clear and undeniable doubling in the inscriptions. "In God we trust, liberty," and the date, 2000, which appear as shadowed or duplicated impressions caused by misalignment of the die hubbing process. And while double die errors are often subtle, requiring magnification, this particular coin shows such bold doubling that even an untrained eye could spot the anomaly instantly, and that kind of bold, clean doubling is incredibly rare on modern pennies and adds tremendous value. But that is only the beginning of the story, because this 2000D cent also exhibits a radical off-center strike, estimated to be more than 50%, which means that the coin was not centered properly in the striking chamber, resulting in Lincoln's head being shifted far to one side, with parts of the design missing entirely and an oddly shaped planchet visible, which creates a dramatic and unmistakable visual flaw that's a collector favorite and rare in such high-grade examples, especially when combined with other errors. And to add yet another layer of rarity, this specific coin is believed to have been struck on the wrong planchet entirely, a transitional or foreign planchet error that may have originated from a coin intended for another denomination or even another country, leading to discrepancies in weight, diameter, and composition. And when this penny was weighed, it came in well below the standard 2.5 grams, suggesting it may have been struck on a planchet intended for a dime or a foreign coin blank, which is a phenomenon that occurs when leftover or misrouted blanks from other production runs are mistakenly fed into the penny presses, a rare but documented error that skyrockets the value of any affected coin. And this error alone, when authenticated, can push a coin's value into the 5 or 6 figure range, but in this case, it is only one component of a multi-layered anomaly that has led experts to refer to this particular coin as a perfect storm of minting mistakes, a once-in-a-lifetime combination of factors including a double die, off-center strike, wrong planchet, and even signs of a retained lamination error, where a portion of the copper plating has started to peel away or blister from the zinc core beneath, revealing bubbling, flaking, or missing areas that disrupt the normal surface finish of the coin, a flaw unique to copper-plated zinc pennies introduced after 1982 and known to be both visually dramatic and highly sought after by error collectors. And when this coin was further examined under magnification, it was discovered that it also bore die cracks, thin raised lines that form when the die itself begins to fracture during use. Specifically a long crack running from Lincoln's collar to the rim and another branching toward the date, adding even more visual and structural interest. And as if all of this weren't enough, the reverse side of the coin also features an improperly formed memorial building with partial details and what appears to be a brockage or partial strike-through, meaning that some foreign material was lodged between the die and planchet during striking, leading to a ghosted, incomplete impression that only serves to heighten the mystery and wonder surrounding this coin's creation. And while each of these errors individually would make a coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, the fact that all of them are present on a single coin, in near mint condition, preserved without major wear or handling damage, and certified by one of the top grading services with a high mint state rating and full red luster, elevates it to a category that defies conventional numismatic logic, making it not just a coin, but a historic artifact, a tangible piece of minting chaos captured in a single copper-plated disc. And it was this exact coin that reportedly sold in a private, confidential transaction between two high-profile collectors, with brokered negotiations facilitated by a major numismatic firm, and though the mint itself has neither confirmed nor denied the existence of this specific coin, citing the sheer number of coins minted and the limitations of their tracking capabilities, independent experts and grading authorities have authenticated its features and issued statements confirming the legitimacy and severity of the errors, which in turn has led to an explosion of interest in the 2000D series, prompting thousands of hobbyists, dealers, and treasure hunters to sift through their collections, search bank rolls, examine estate hoards, and closely scrutinize every penny from the year 2000 they encounter, hoping to find even a single one that mimics any of the features found on the legendary $10 million specimen. And while minor errors such as die chips, plating blisters, and weak strikes have been found, and occasionally sold for small premiums, no other example has come close to matching the astonishing set of flaws found in this coin, making it a true one-of-one, an irreplaceable object of obsession and admiration. And as news of this sale spread across collector forums, auction houses, and social media, the price of similar, though less rare, 2000D cents began to climb as well, with even lightly off-center or slightly doubled examples selling for hundreds or thousands of dollars, depending on grade, while full red MS-67 or higher specimens, even without major errors, have drawn attention from investors and collectors who see them as potential growth assets, and the implications of this coin's discovery and sale ripple far beyond its own story, serving as a powerful reminder that even in the modern age of high-speed, computerized minting, mistakes can and do happen, sometimes catastrophically, and that these mistakes, when caught, preserved, and authenticated, can become the most valuable and important coins in the entire U.S. series. And for the average person, this opens a world of possibility, because it means that treasures worth millions could still be out there, unnoticed, sitting in a drawer, a piggy bank, or a box of loose change. And for the numismatic community, it represents a golden age of discovery, a moment where every coin is worth examining, every detail worth questioning, every anomaly worth investigating, because you never know when you might uncover a once-in-a-century coin like the 2000D 1 cent that defied all odds, escaped all inspections, endured 2 decades of handling, and still retained its errors so clearly, so unmistakably, and so magnificently that it could command a price tag more commonly associated with fine art or historic artifacts. And it is exactly this kind of extraordinary story that fuels the passion of collectors, inspires the curious, and reminds us that even the smallest things, a simple penny, can hold unimaginable value when circumstances align just right. So if you're holding on to any 2000D pennies, take a closer look, weigh them, examine them under magnification, study the inscriptions, the strike, the alignment, and the surfaces. Last 2021 1 cent USA coin. Today we're about to take you deep into one of the most compelling and electrifying coin tales in recent American minting history, the remarkable saga of the 2021 1 cent coin from the United States of America, a coin that, despite its modernity, youth, and mass production, has stunned numismatists and shaken the collector community with the emergence of a specific error-laden example that has reached an astonishing valuation of $32 million, a valuation built not just on hype or rarity alone, but on a perfectly unique set of minting mistakes, metallurgical anomalies, improbable combinations of error features, and the unrepeatable circumstances under which it was discovered, preserved, examined, and authenticated. And to truly grasp how something so recently minted can possess such extraordinary value, we have to dive headfirst into the intricate world of mint errors and the subtle, often invisible decisions and failures within the minting process that can transform a common coin into a global sensation. So let's begin by setting the scene. The year is 2021, and the United States Mint, operating out of several locations including Denver, Philadelphia, San Francisco, and West Point, continues its standard production of circulating coins, with billions of pennies being struck that year, all featuring the standard Lincoln bust on the obverse and the Union Shield reverse introduced in 2010, a design meant to reflect national unity and the enduring strength of the Republic. Struck on copper-plated zinc planchets weighing 2.5 grams and meant for everyday circulation, with billions produced, the assumption by most people is that a 2021 penny is just another ordinary coin, indistinguishable from the rest, too modern and too abundant to be worth anything more than face value. And yet, within the immense sea of these coins, a single one, just one, surfaced that shattered all assumptions and proved once again that modern coins can hide extraordinary secrets, because this particular 2021 1-cent coin, now certified and secured in a private collection, exhibits a never-before-seen combination of minting errors and metallurgical mishaps that has made it the most valuable penny minted in the 21st century to date. And when collectors first laid eyes on it, what stood out immediately was a bold and unmistakable double die on the obverse, where Lincoln's face, particularly his eyes, lips, ear, and nose, show clear and dramatic doubling, not the faint, almost imperceptible doubling seen on lesser varieties, but strong, crisp lines that almost appear as if two overlapping Lincolns exist on one coin, and alongside the doubling, the inscriptions, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date, 2021, all show evident doubling and shadowing, a flaw caused not by movement during striking, but by a flawed die hubbing process in which the design was transferred to the working die in a misaligned manner, and the strength and clarity of this doubling immediately placed it in a league of its own. But that was only the beginning, because the reverse of the coin held an even more spectacular surprise, showing signs of an improperly annealed planchet, resulting in wildly inconsistent colorations, from brassy oranges to silvery gray patches, indicating exposed zinc due to a flawed copper plating process. And when examined further under electron microscope technology and XRF analysis, metallurgists discovered that the composition of this specific coin did not conform to standard copper-plated zinc ratios, suggesting either an experimental planchet or a catastrophic failure in blank preparation, with certain areas exhibiting traces of aluminum and other trace metals not typical of standard penny production, leading some to speculate that this coin was struck on a test planchet, perhaps mistakenly used in regular production, which adds a deep layer of rarity and mystery. And if the doubling and metal composition weren't enough, the coin also displayed a severe off-center strike estimated at 40%, meaning Lincoln's bust is shifted far to the right with part of the rim missing entirely, and the reverse design bleeding off the planchet's edge, an error caused when the blank is improperly seated in the striking chamber, and such off-center strikes are collectible on their own. But when combined with dramatic doubling and improper planchet composition, it becomes something exponentially more valuable. And still, the errors didn't end there, as this same coin also featured die cracks across Lincoln's coat and down through the shield on the reverse. Long raised lines of metal formed from cracks in the striking die, which usually occur only after significant overuse or faulty die preparation, and in this case, they were so pronounced that they could be seen without magnification, particularly a large cut formation near the rim at the 9 o'clock position, where a piece of the die had broken off completely, leaving a raised blob of metal that distorts the design. And to top it all off, researchers discovered faint signs of a struck-through error on the obverse, meaning that a piece of debris, possibly a fiber or grease, had become lodged between the die and the planchet during striking, leaving a ghostly blank spot across Lincoln's jawline, and all of this on a single coin. A symphony of minting failures so extreme, and yet so perfectly layered that even veteran graders and error experts were left stunned, and once authenticated and encapsulated in a PCGS slab, with a designation of MS67RD, indicating mint state condition with full red luster, This coin was soon the subject of intense private interest from elite collectors, and eventually it was sold through a discreet brokered transaction for $32 million to a prominent numismatist with a known passion for unique modern-era coins. And this sale sent shockwaves through the numismatic world, with some experts calling it a once-in-a-lifetime coin, others debating whether any others like it could exist, and still others scouring the coin's background for clues as to how such a coin could even be created in a modern minting facility equipped with countless layers of quality control, automation, and error prevention mechanisms. But the truth is that no system is perfect, and in the rarest of circumstances, when a worn die meets a misaligned hub, meets an improper planchet, meets a rushed production schedule, errors of this magnitude can occur, and, though nearly all of them are caught, occasionally one will escape, slipping through the cracks and entering circulation or being pulled aside by a sharp-eyed worker, and in this case, it's believed that the coin may never have reached public hands, as rumors suggest it was found in a mint-sealed bag of coins earmarked for Federal Reserve distribution, but intercepted by a subcontracted sorting facility where an eagle-eyed employee spotted its irregular coloring and set it aside, eventually selling it to a dealer who later had it graded and authenticated. And now, with the storied public and interest at an all-time high, thousands of collectors are revisiting their 2021 pennies, hoping to find even a hint of doubling, a shred of off-centering, or a strange surface texture that could hint at a similar error, with some error coins from this year already commanding small premiums for minor flaws, while others are fetching thousands due to light doubling or partial plating failures. But none have approached the full spectrum of flaws found on the $32 million coin, a coin that has now become a reference point for modern minting error analysis and a symbol of how even the newest, most mundane coins can, under the right, or wrong, conditions, become historic treasures. And what makes this story so electrifying is that it's not just about the past, like with old wheat cents or colonial coins. It's a story unfolding now, a coin minted within the last few years, still possibly sitting in drawers, jars, banks, or storage, waiting to be found, examined, and appreciated, and it gives every person, from the professional numismatist to the casual hobbyist to the person just curious about coins, a reason to take a second look at their pocket change, because the next big discovery might be hiding in plain sight. And as more people learn about this coin, study its errors, understand its background, and pursue its peers, the value of even lesser specimens continues to climb. With auction houses reporting increased traffic and bids on all 2021 era coins, especially those from the Denver Mint, where this unique specimen originated, and the legend of the $32 million penny continues to grow, as experts publish white papers, YouTube creators spread the word, and collectors dream of making the next great find that could turn 1 cent into millions.